Good evening and welcome to my channel. Tonight, I'll be giving you my thoughts on Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. So, this book was not what I was expecting. I think it was mainly due to modern media, such as like cartoons and movies, and how Frankenstein, the creation or monster, has been depicted. But also, I don't know where I got this, but for some reason I thought that Frankenstein, the creator, and the creation were friends. But of course, that's not how it is in the book. Frankenstein creates him and then like abandons him. It's really weird. Like, why did he do that? And so then this creation is just struggling and suffering throughout most of the book, actually all of the book. So, did I like this book? Undecided. It was an interesting book for sure, but it was also so sad. This is probably one of the saddest books I've ever read. And so because of that, I'm not really sure I could say that I like it, because it was just so sad. So, like I said, this wasn't what I was expecting. And I think it's really interesting how different the book is compared to what we think of when we think of Frankenstein. And to be clear, though, in modern day, when we think of Frankenstein, we think of the creation, we think of the monster. Where in the book, Frankenstein is the creator, like he is the inventor. And the creation actually is never given a name, which I think is really sad. It also makes it really confusing to talk about because he doesn't have a name. So I'll probably just be calling him the creation or the monster. I don't really like using the term monster though, because he's not. Like when you read the book, he's not a monster. He's a really kind person, and he only becomes, I don't even want to use the word evil, but he does some bad things after just being, abused a lot by people. So I haven't read any literary analysis of Frankenstein, so I don't know if this is a common take on this book, but my opinion is that this is all Frankenstein's fault. Like everything. Like he created this monster and then just abandoned him. And because of his abandonment, he ended up becoming what he becomes in the end. And this could have all been avoided if Frankenstein had, first of all, just not created him, because there was no reason for him to make this creation. But then if he had created him as he did, not to abandon him. Like, it is so sad reading the part when the creation is coming to awareness and he's feeling cold and he's feeling hunger and he's alone. And that's just really sad. I'm probably going to use that word a lot because this is a really sad book. So I definitely feel bad for the creation. I do not feel bad for Frankenstein. I think he brought it all on himself. So I feel bad for the creation. I feel bad for everything that he went through. I also do feel bad for the victims because they really did not deserve what happened to them. Like, they were not involved in the creation's life at all, that they were just unfortunately related to Frankenstein, and because of that kind of like incurred the creation's wrath. So I want to talk about the de Lacys for a minute. This was kind of like an interesting section in the book when the creation finds this family and he becomes really attached to them, even though he's never actually spoken to them. And he's just like observing them through the wall. But I thought their story was really interesting. So as a side note, this doesn't have anything to do with Frankenstein, but as a side note with the DeLacy's, I thought it was really interesting that the son kind of like, well, I don't really know how to phrase it, but like he came to the defense of, this person who was wrongfully accused and like was going to be put to death and everything. And he like came to their defense. But I thought it was interesting because he'd never actually met him. And so the fact that he was willing to put like his like livelihood on the line, but then also his family's livelihood on the line for a person that he had never met. I mean, maybe I'm selfish, but like I wouldn't have done it. Like I'm not putting my family at risk for someone that I've never met. I thought that was really strange. And this was also probably one of the saddest moments in the book is when the creation decides to reveal himself to the father. And while he's doing that, the son comes in and like is really violent towards the creation and like kicks him out and everything. And it's really sad. And I'm not really sure why he did it, because obviously the creation wasn't doing anything violent. He was just kneeling there having a conversation, with the father. And so I'm not really sure why he felt the need to be that violent. This is also interesting that the book actually never really gives us a very good description of the creation. Like we're told that he looks hideous and that he's very frightening to behold, but we're never actually given a description of him. Like, I mean, we're told that, like one of the women, fainted and the other like ran away in terror. And I don't know, I can't imagine any like individual being that frightening to behold that you would like faint. That just seems kind of crazy. I want to go back to like our views of Frankenstein and the book. I'm not really sure where this came from, but like in like modern media and like if he's ever shown in like TV shows or like movies, he's shown as being inarticulate and like kind of stiff movements, like arms are just like, held straight out and everything. But in the book, first of all, he's quite articulate. He's very well learned, intelligent even, and then he also, in the book, he's being described as moving quite fast. So I'm not really sure where this idea of Frankenstein came from, that he's this like slow, lumbering, inarticulate creature. I'm just not really sure where that came from. So in the end, I think there are two lessons in this book. The number one lesson being that like you shouldn't judge a book by the cover, right? Because the creation is a very nice person and he's treated abominably by everybody that he encounters purely on the way that he looks. The other lesson I think that is in this book is just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. I don't think Frankenstein should have created him. There was no reason for this, right? Like this was just like a curiosity of his that he wanted to do for some reason. I don't even really understand why he created him. And I don't think he should have. Like, I think it was just unnecessary. Anyway, so those are some of my thoughts on Frankenstein. Let me know what you thought of this book. Did you also think it was sad? What was the most interesting thing that you thought of when you heard this book? I'm going to link my reading of Frankenstein in the description, so feel free to check that out. Until next time.